Hey guys, we are going to go over the best teamfight tactics compositions for patch 11.16b. I think the game is actually in one of the most balanced states right now in terms of both compositions and items, apart from like Abominations being slightly too strong, but we'll get into that later. There was a B patch. There are just a couple of changes there, nothing too major. It was mainly just a nerf to the Hellion build, and I know a lot of people like that build from last week, but unfortunately they had to kind of chop it down a little bit. I'm surprised they did not touch Abominations, but we are going to go over all the good compositions and go over how to play each and every one of them. But before that, let's get into the B patch. We have a Tristana nerf in her attack damage, attack speed, and mana. And then we have a Lulu change where her mana and her mana pool is being increased by 20. This means that she is going to get her first cast off at the same amount of time, but her second cast will be a little later. Her targets are being changed. 3-star Lulu now only targets 5 instead of 6. And then the polymorph duration is being changed to a flat 1.5 seconds for every level. That's actually probably the biggest change down here because she did get a lot of good CCs off at level 2 and sometimes at level 3. So with that in mind, obviously from last week, Hellions are going to be a bit down compared to before, but they're still pretty decent. I've seen some people use them with quite a bit of success still, but not the same power as it was last week for sure. So onto the comps. Abominations are still going to be S tier. And then surprisingly, Redeemed Vel'Koz jumped up. Aphelios, Sentinels, Invokers, Riven, Skirmishers, and Hellions are going to round out the A tier. B tier is going to be Yasuo, Assassins, Draven, and Cavalier Cannoneer. And then the do not plays are going to be the Dawnbringer Karma and Kayle Knights. We're going to go over all the core units for each of these comps and all the items you should go for. But first, just a quick word from our sponsor. Have you guys been raiding? Because if not, I am going to go over everything you guys have missed, along with all the new updates we have in Raid Shadow Legend, including the Demon Lord, the Crushed Ice Golem, and the Doom Tower. With over 500 champions, there are over 1 million combinations of teams that you can do, which makes it perfect for those who are into deep thinking games. Recently, they added a new hero based off of the streaming personality Ninja. He's got his blue hair. He's got an AoE freeze on his 3rd skill, which is like one of the strongest crowd control effects in the game. So you can pretty much use him in a lot of different combinations, and he often just solos a lot of the events. Two that come to mind are the Spider and the Clan Boss. Ninja is actually free right now, so everyone will be able to get him as long as you guys sign up before October 15th. After that, you'll never be able to get him again, so I do recommend starting very, very soon. Raid released a ton of other updates, including the new clan feature and improvements, a lot of new quests, and for clan members to work on things together as well. There are also benefits for just being in a clan, such as a new clan shop that gives you access to a lot of powerful items. This is actually something that's been missing in the game before, so I'm glad that they added this new feature. This month also has new champions to collect from fragments and in the Doom Tower, and a load of events and competitions to take part in. If you guys want to get a huge head start in Raid, all you have to do is hit the link in the description or scan my QR code and you will get an epic champion, Chonaru, who is great on the Doom Tower, 200,000 silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and 1 ancient shard so that you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get in game. All this treasure will be waiting for you right here. It is that easy. I will see you guys in game, but let's get right back to the video. All right, we are back. So first comp is going to be Abomination with either Heimerdinger or Vel'Koz. You could also use Zyra as well. And as you guys could have guessed, the reason why this comp is so good is because you have a lot of different carry options. First one we are going to go over is Heimerdinger. This is the strongest one in my opinion, but it's a little more difficult to get because Heimerdinger is a legendary unit. But you will want Shojin, Archangels, and Jeweled Gauntlet, same items from last week. And you want 3 tank items. Sunfire is actually super, super important right now in pretty much every single composition. So you want to add that in. Having Redemption is pretty nice. And then for Fiddlesticks, you could use Ionic Spark, you could use Bramble Vest, or just another random tank item as well. On to the next version, we have the Redeemed version with Vel'Koz. This one's a little easier to hit, but not as strong. But, you know, we can't always get Heimerdinger 2 every single game. So Vel'Koz likes a little bit of healing, so I like adding the Hand of Justice on him. And then after that, same core with Fiddlesticks, Nunu, and Brand, and then you add in Rel and Lux to get redeemed instead of all the other stuff from before. This comp is really good because Abominations are just the best comp right now, and lots of different options to pivot into, and this is one of the few ability power comps that are actually really good right now. Moving on to the A tier, we have another Vel'Koz comp. This one is surprisingly good. I've seen like Vel'Koz do extremely well. I think people are figuring out that Vel'Koz is actually really, really good, and you don't always need Abominations to make him work. Same items as before, you just run different units. And you could do 6 redeemed, you could do 3 redeemed, or anything in between that. And yeah, Garen's not too contested. So as far as legendaries are concerned, he's really good for his value because he's relatively easy to get and he does a lot for your team compositions. For tank items, I like putting it on Rel until you get a Garen 2-star. After that, I like Garen holding the tank items a lot more. So now on to Aphelios. He is an attack damage composition, and what you want to do is do a standard leveling pattern because you're going for 4-cost carry. And with Aphelios, you just want to build a bunch of attack damage items. Doesn't really matter which. I like mixing and matching both attack speed and attack damage. So right here we have Bloodthirster, Gwynsu's, and Deathblade. I feel like Bloodthirster is pretty necessary because sometimes people's Dianas jump to the back line or something hits the back, and you just really want the regen so he stays alive throughout the fight. Akshan 2 is great in the late game. And then for tanks, Galio and Rel really round the team out. And then here we have 4 Nightbringer, but you could add in a lot of other different versions depending on what you're facing and what you hit within the game. After that, we have Sentinels. This is another attack damage composition and another standard leveling because you're going for a 4-cost carry. And this is where we have Lucian. Lucian uses slightly different items. I like having Handed Justice on him a ton. I actually like having 2 Handed Justices on him, believe it or not. But there are a lot of other things you can do. You mainly just want attack damage items as per usual. And this is a core build of the Sentinels right here. We have the front line and the 2 back line. It's just 3 Sentinel plus 2 Knights and some tanks. And then after that, you add in 3 extra units, whatever you're hitting, and you kind of be flexible. It could be going up to 6 Sentinels like we see down here. It could be adding in more Ironclad. It could be adding in Mystics or random legendaries or just a bunch of Revenants because Revenants are the most broken tank class right now in the late game. But the most popular version is just doing the 6 Sentinel version because it's easier to do because going for 6 synergies are typically cheaper builds because you get to use a lot of 2 and 3 cost units but still get decent power level from them. And yeah, standard leveling pattern, no surprises there. Next up, we have Invokers. This is like the legendary Wet Dream. 4 legendaries in this comp here. You could add in more if you so choose, but we have the 4 Invoker version right now so that Heimerdinger and Teemo get their cast off as quickly as possible. Heimerdinger is going to be the main carry, but if you can't get Heimerdinger 2-star, throw the items on Teemo or just any other ability power caster. And this comp, you want to do standard leveling into some sort of fast 9 eventually. And you can't do this every single game. You only want to do this when you have a lot of health or if you hit Heimerdingers really early on. Next up, we have Riven Carry. This is our first reroll comp, but this is another attack damage composition. And there are a lot of different items you could use on Riven. I believe I list them all out down here in case you need some inspiration. This isn't like a full list, but these are the ones that I like the most. Of course, in a lot of games, you could use some like suboptimal items, but are still playable, such as like Handed Justice on Riven, though I do prefer having what I have listed out here. So in this composition, you want to have a secondary carry. Some people use Jax, some people use Nidalee. And after that, RFC is going to be very important on Riven, so you do want a lot of bows for this composition. And then Runon's very necessary so that she could apply her attack damage buff to 2 different people. Galio is going to be our main tank, and Aurelia is really nice to put on the edge because she gets a damage reduction. So I actually like putting Aurelia on the sides there. That's why you see the positioning done in this way. You want to do what's called a slow roll. So all the other comps we looked at before, they are more standard leveling. This one, we're going to slow roll, which means you roll down to 50 gold every turn, and you just go for Riven 3-star that way, and you want to do that at level 7. Next build is going to be Skirmisher Knights. This one is with Jax Carry. Lots of different items work on Jax. Honestly, like you could use a lot of the same Riven items on Jax. They both work in the same way because they both benefit a lot from attack damage. Just frontline everything. Some people also backline everything. There are 2 different ways you could kind of do it. Both of them work pretty well, though. It depends what comps you're playing against. But Viego, very, very strong right now. I've seen him steal way too many carries in the backline that you just can't not play him. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but all the other comps we went through so far, I don't think any of them played Viego, so he's kind of uncontested right now. Next build we have is the Hellion reroll. So Hellions, they did get nerfed a bit. It's just a little unfortunate, but they were a little like annoying because 2-star Tristana was doing some types of crazy stuff. You're not going to necessarily win with a 2-star Tristana. You really want 3-star, but you did get a huge power spike from 2-star Tristana, so that's why I think they nerfed it a little bit. But overall, this comp is still good. It's still playable if you are interested in doing the Hellion build. Notice how we are not running any Cavaliers here. Some people like running Kled, but you want to keep everything in the backline for this build, and that's why we're not running Kled or anything like that. After that, we are going off to the B tier. So these comps are going to be a little worse, but honestly, the game is so balanced right now. And when I say balanced, I mean like a lot of things are playable. So B tier is actually pretty good in this current patch. So Nightbringer Yasuo, this is another reroll. You play it very similar to how we played Riven with the slow rolling at level 7. Items are actually very similar too, and you want to make use of like Legionnaires as well. But this time you are leaning more towards Nightbringers because Yasuo is a Nightbringer. And you do want some sort of secondary carry. That could either be like Jax, it could be Lee Sin, it could be Sejuani. Sometimes people go for 3-star Lee Sin, 3-star Sejuani, and 3-star Yasuo. Depends on what your roles are that game. Next comp, we have Assassins. This one's just a reroll Nocturne comp. Not much else to say there. You position everyone in the back, and Assassins jump to the other side, hope you kill things. If you do get Assassin Spatula, put it on Fiddlesticks, because he's going to be doing a lot of damage and popping off really, really hard. And then you want to, of course, go for 6 Assassins in that case. After that, Forgotten Draven. Draven, again, just not as strong as he was before, but he's still playable. We have a 6 Forgotten build here. You could do 3 Forgotten as well if you want to not play some of the garbage units, such as Vayne and like Misfortune. You could add in other stuff instead, such as random legendary units, maybe Galio or like some Legionnaires. It's really up to you, but he uses all the attack damage and attack speed items as he has always done in the past. After that, Cavalier Cannoneer. This comp got a little better from last week. I feel like I treated it too harshly last week, so that's why I'm bumping it back up to the B tier. I feel like it's a step below everything else in the B tier, but it's not quite like C tier, so that's why I'm keeping it at the bottom here. But essentially, you go for Hecarim 3-star and hopefully Misfortune 3-star as well, and they just do a lot of damage, and Hecarim sometimes doesn't die. But there are a lot of Nunus right now, so that's why I like having Warmogs on Hecarim. If not, sometimes Nunu just eats your super tanky Hecarim, and then you are like crying later that day. C tier, we have Karma. We're going to skip that. And then we have Kayle Knights as well. Going to skip that too. So onto the items. We have an updated carousel item priority. I moved down Sword. I bumped up Belt. I bumped up Chain Vest. And this is because Sunfire Cape is just that important. It's just used for all the Abomination comps. It's used to counter all the Warmogs. It's used to build Warmogs. So it has like so many different uses. That's why I think Belt is actually the best start in the game right now. Sword right after that, because there's so many good attack damage compositions. And then after that, like pretty much all the items are actually good except for Negatron. I'm going to be honest with you guys, like from Rod and above, they're all going to be good because it depends what comp you're going. If you're going for an ability power composition, of course you're going to need the Rod. If you're going for attack damage, of course you're going to need the Sword. But Belt and Chain are typically shining in this meta because there's so many good things, and every team does need tank items. And your carries don't need super perfect items. Like you just really need the Sunfire Cape or Warmogs to get you through the early game. And then after that, you kind of just snowball into like a top 4 or like hopefully win if you get lucky with your rolls. So that is my opinion on the items right now. Just don't get Negatron Cloak. If you guys want like a general tier list, I have it down here like set up in an item quadrant where you want to build items on the top right and avoid the ones on the bottom left. But honestly, like right now, the game is like in a very playable state in my opinion. Like a lot of things are good. All the items, you don't feel like bad screwed unless you get a Negatron Cloak. And it's just like a good state to play in right now, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts, though, in the comments below. And if you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. And of course, check out the raid links in the description below. And I hope to see you guys next week for the updated meta snapshot after that, because I do these every single Friday. But apart from that, that is it for me. I will see you all later.